Reaperman here, and today I'm kind of breaking a little bit of a promise to myself. As you may know, I ordered myself a San Francisco Rush cabinet, but it has taken so long to arrive because apparently freight is a hassle in the days of the Couve. So I'm actually going to play this version of the game. This is a port of the Dreamcast version, and this is in Midway Arcade Treasures Volume 3. This is the Gamecube version played on a Wii U. So let's just go around Hate here. It's one of my favorite tracks, probably my favorite track. And let's pick the old 8-ball car here. One nice thing about the Dreamcast version is there are a lot of these little upgrades, and these upgrades are primarily unlocked with mileage. Okay, let's get this going here. There is a little bit of a load before the game, and one nice thing about the Dreamcast version of Rush is you can do an in-place restart of the race and not have to load the game, which I thought is nice. And I believe I've seen it in other versions of Midway Arcade Treasures, but not all of them. I want to say the Midway Arcade Treasures Deluxe version, the second PC version, doesn't do it that way, but I may be mistaken. I love this track. So I have I've skipped a whole bunch of shortcuts, but that's okay. If you notice, these trees are actually growing right out of the ground, and that's not great, right? And let's drive through here. Coming up around the corner, we're going to see one of those red switches that we can turn green. And these, I'll hit this one here, and this actually opens something up over here that's exclusive to the console, and I'm just going to blow up on it, I guess. Maybe I'll live, who knows. Barely. Ooh. So normally I actually have deaths on when I play this game because once I crash, I really don't want to keep going. And, one other thing to note is there's a really cool transparency effect that is in most versions of this game up along the ceiling. This game doesn't have that, so one of my little favorite details, that tunnel, is absent. Now, I actually do not usually take that path through. There's about 3 or 4 different shortcut methods in there. Maybe next time around I'll take that shortcut off to the right too. It's not the most survivable thing in the world, and I actually don't mind racing on the track for the most part in this one. There are a couple of spots I deviate. So even though these trees are growing right out of the pavement, you can see the dust it's kicking up as if they were in the grass. That is kind of an interesting little quirk of this particular version of the game. And right now it's kind of making me wish that I had gone through the trouble of dragging my Dreamcast away from its CRT monitor so that I could record at least SCART quality. I'm actually not going to go that way. I'm going to go this way. Boom! Good jump, don't even need the wings. And I am going to have to practice without the wings because, of course, the arcade version does not have wings. Also, there's a few different ways to take this side. I usually go this way because it's a little easier. Now, wings are a bit of a double-edged sword in this game. The arcade flyer says that, that they slow you down because your wheels aren't spinning and in contact with the ground, which is true, but they are also often a much easier way to carry speed. So if you can be on the ground, it's probably best to be on the ground, but if you're up in the air and like the ground is just dropping away, don't go out of your way to slam on the brakes and get closer to the ground. It's just not worth it. I really do love this game so much, though. I would consider Rush 2049 an absolutely perfect game. Not this version, mind. Perhaps the Dreamcast and the arcade. Now, truth be told, I only have about 5 credits on the arcade version. Tremendously enjoyed my time, and of course from that uninformed position, I would have for the last 10 years probably told you that the Dreamcast version is superior, and that argument can still be made. There's a lot of superior things about the Dreamcast version, which is broadly what I'm playing here, actually, is kind of a crappier version of the Dreamcast version. Let's try taking this side over here. Now there is a... whoa! Let's go through this part. Nope. So I hit the abort button there to get out of that. Part of the thrill of this game is knowing exactly when to use that abort button. One thing else I notice about this is a lot of the colored transparency effects are just screwy as all get out in this game. Like the purple lava lamps and the little floating jets that hold the start-finish line up, and some of the other tracks have it even worse. Now, one nice thing about the console version of this game is the tracks are all available to be played in reverse, and some of these tracks in reverse are absolutely mind-blowingly, awesomely different. And that is something you do not get in the arcade. In the arcade, you can do tracks mirrored, which screws you up more than you might think. But nowhere near as much as reverse, where, wow, reverse is just like playing the track on a different planet for most of these. And maybe it's because I don't do it enough, but yeah, I'm just no good with reverse. There's usually a whole different set of shortcuts. Whoop. Yeah, those lava lamps look weird. So I think this is the end of the race there. Yeah. Oh, okay. Let's do a new track. This is what this race again here is the restart that doesn't involve any loading, which is kind of nice. Let's jump back to the first track here, and let's up our laps a little bit. Again, a lot of times I race with death on, just because I'm going for time, and if I screw up bad enough to explode, I just kind of want to roll with it and start over. But if I have death on, then I still get credit for my mileage, which is kind of important in this game. It's kind of silly for me to go for time right now also, because I don't have the upgrades unlocked. Now, one of the big shortcuts a lot of people do here is coming around the side. Oh, I just screwed that one up. And using this as kind of a cheeky way to get into first, and okay. It works. Now, that whole area off to the left that we just passed is actually the path for whoa! Is actually the path for the reverse of this, so that isn't in the arcade at all. One thing that's in the arcade that is not in here, though, there are these two 60-foot Atari symbols, and then there's also an Atari symbol on that circle, and this whole interior area here is kind of hollowed out more, and there's a DNA helix kind of looking thing in it, and it's kind of neat. And this game has 16 coins per level, 8 gold, 8 silver. As you can see, I've bumbled into a couple of them. But the arcade version has 100 coins per level, and that helps with car unlocks. Let's just get the wings out a little bit here. Now, there are some extra bollards and some glass I noticed that I don't remember from the Dreamcast version. Boy, that's a short jump. I must be in a slow car. Now, one change down here is this shortcut, whoop, slowed down for it, has a button in it. Click, and if you don't click that button, the easiest version of the shortcut here is actually closed. So, that's not good. You can still make it through. Well, I can't make it through, but you can make it. It's still possible to make it through, but it's much, much trickier. Boom. There's those weird... The transparencies are just just wrong. The color transparency. Something is not right about that in this game. Just transparencies in general aren't quite right. The game does play very well. I would say that if you have the Dreamcast version handy, play that. But I happen to have the Gamecube version handy, so that's what I have going here. And the Wii U upscales quite nicely, really. Oh, jeez. Well, since we're going slow, let's take a more complicated version of this shortcut here. Let's go down here. And look out for any trains, and then we can jump across, and then jump across, and that... And then we go up this thing here. Oh, almost. So anyway, those giant, I'd say 60 to 100 foot Atari symbols. There's one right over to the left that is in the arcade version, and then around this corner heading up the hill there's another one, and they're giant, and they're colored in the kind of Atari Games blue to orange rainbow that the Atari Games logo in the first San Francisco Rush game looked like. Atari Games logo for Rush 2049 is actually yellow on blue. I actually found myself a bootleg Atari Games t-shirt on AliExpress and ordered that because I'm an Atari Games fan, and that should pretty much make me the king of the hipsters, or it would, but most hipsters who wear Atari shirts probably don't know what Atari Games is. And probably not the case amongst my viewers, but Atari Games is the arcade division of Atari. They split off in one of the bankruptcies, and they got snatched up by Midway, which is where they're at when this game was made. This is the last game under the Atari Games name, and after that they became Midway West. In fact, the specific arcade cabinet I ordered has already been upgraded to the special edition, and because of that, a fair number of the Atari logos have been replaced with Midway West. Or actually, I guess just Midway logos. There's still the Atari logos around the track, but on the front of the game it's going to say Midway instead of Atari Games, which is a little bit of a bummer, but there's a lot of bug fixes in the special edition, and it's definitely worth getting. So this is just a nice little fun game that I use for a zone-out racer. My hands basically know how to drive the track in this kind of autopilot. They don't know the shortcuts by heart, but they know the standard track, because what I like to do is I like to up the lap count and just kind of zone out. Oh, I unlocked the light alloy frame. You know what? Let's pick a new track. Let's pick Civic. I realize I'm just going through all the tracks. This track is quite a bit different in the Dreamcast version. There's a whole set of shortcuts here, and this is the first track that really blew my mind when racing in reverse, because there's some shortcuts on it that are just brilliant. And one of the shortcuts that's a suicide shortcut for the last lap in the arcade mode, since it has to be forward, actually turns out to be a viable shortcut in reverse, and I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, if you can do it, you probably want to stay up here. Do look out for the train. If you see the train, dive. And that was the train crossing, so we're going to miss it. Let's hit this thing. Boom! And then that opens this up, and oh, I missed the road. There's an interesting little combo shortcut there. It drops you through a series of kind of like arches, and then deposits you down this thing, like with a straight shot, and that's kind of neat. Boom! And then we look for the twin trees, and then we kind of exit pretty close to this tree. Oh, I screwed that up. Watch me not take my own advice, and now I'm in the middle of a field. It's okay, I've got all-terrain tires on, so it's not the worst thing in the world. The all-terrain tires really help with the little screw-ups that involve going off-road. There's about a million shortcuts here, but here's one of the easier ones, is you just kind of skim along this thing here, and this isn't even really a shortcut because it goes about the same distance, and you just drive on these rooftops, and it puts you in a nice spot to line up for this one here. And let's see if I can get that coin. Nope, do not have the juice yet. I need a faster motor. One nice thing about going off-road is it does slow you down without using the brakes, so ever so subtly. Now the Gamecube, interestingly enough, oh, just missed the train. The Gamecube, interestingly enough, of course, has analog triggers, because it's a modern game system. And this game, of course, supports analog inputs on the accelerator and brake. However, whoever programmed this turd decided to bypass that. So you actually have to be all the way down into the GameCube's kind of trigger click area. And that is your only accelerator. So your accelerator is on or off in this version of the game. Which is kind of a huge bummer, really. And that's true of Rush the Rock Alcatraz edition on this collection as well. Oh, and if you look at that blue building up ahead, yeah, that's one of those colored transparencies that's just wrong. I think maybe they replaced a colored transparent polygon with just a transparent like bitmap or something. Either way, it doesn't look great. Anyway, let's go up this way again. Ah! Well, that was not going to work out for us. I suppose I should take the most standard route around this thing just to show that off. The most standard route is probably following the drones down here. And then over these bumps you can get enough air to deploy your wings. And then you just take a little bit of a wider curve around here. Now, there is a shortcut that is in the arcade game. The tunnel isn't in the arcade game, but this road is in the arcade game. And there's those trees. Let me see if I can redeem myself going up closer to this one. And nope, a little too close to that tree. The wings do help save you to some extent in this thing. You can't really steer yourself, but you can orient your car to make yourself land flatter. And that jump is one of those places where if you have deaths on, you can actually get rid of a few drones. Sometimes they'll get, whoop, sometimes they'll hit the planes. You know what, for the next go around, let's take the left shortcut through this area and die on that. So Rush 2049 has shortcuts that aren't just single stage, I took the shortcuts, but they'll have like multiple variations and such to them. So like the basic version of a shortcut isn't actually going to get you much, but the more advanced version, that will actually save you some time. Oh, no, missed it again. That is a camera problem, probably. Trying to be too entertaining, and it's a little distracting. That's my excuse anyway. So with my all-terrain tires, it's actually not so bad to take the main path because of that little dirt patch there. It catches me up to the drones just a little bit more every time. Now speaking of drones, that's one of my favorite parts about the arcade version, and actually why I chose it as my one and only driving cabinet. See, in the arcade version is really built for super amounts of replay value. Can I hit this? Probably don't have enough speed. Probably going to die here. Yep. Boom! So there's a time trial mode actually built into the arcade where it turns off drones for you and actually brings cars in from the leaderboard as ghost cars for you to race, and that's just cool. Whoop. And I believe you have to be in that time trial no drones mode in order to whoop. You have to be in that time trial no drones mode in order to enable the coins, and if you then enter the code for the 60 FPS mode, I believe that only works in the no drones time trial mode too. So that's probably how I'll be playing the game. Now the Dreamcast version is pretty much, from what I understand, 60 FPS just about all the time. You will notice the occasional hitch in it, but that's pretty typical for the time. It's one of the ways that you can argue that the Dreamcast is a better game than the arcade original. However, the arcade original's big deals are it's got that awesome speaker setup, it's got the force feedback wheel, and it's got a clutch pedal, which I don't think any of the home versions of this game bothered to map. So from what I understand from the attract mode on the arcade game, the clutch pedal will give you more air when you're in the air, and it'll give you a speed boost when you use it correctly in combination with the manual shifter. And the game does have a four-speed shifter in it. Okay. You know what? That's a fun track. Well, no, it's probably boring to watch me do the same track over and over again. Oh, Metro Marina. Is there a track I don't have unlocked? There probably is a track I don't have unlocked. Yeah, let's do Metro. So, this game added 2 tracks that the arcade version doesn't have. But the arcade version has The Rock, which this version doesn't have. Special Edition of 2049 actually adds in those 2 Dreamcast tracks in some form. I think it would have been cool also if they would have added reverse mode, but it did not do that. So this is kind of a complicated little track here, and you gotta watch out for these street cars. Oh, this is a tight corner. Generally speaking, in Rush, you can use your brakes to make corners tighter, or you can even tap reverse to make corners tighter. Oh, do not know if the clutch helps in corners at all. Probably not. I will say that the clutch does not actually function like a regular car clutch does, as in if you miss it, I don't think it misses a gear for you or anything like that. You just don't get the little bonus speed boost. Oh, was not expecting that. Also, up ahead at the end of this straight, and I say straight with like imaginary air quotes around it because it's very vertical, but at the end of this straight in the arcade version, there's a cool little police mech, like a mech walker. Whoa, right there by that light, and that's kind of a cool thing to see. However, the Dreamcast version has this little shortcut here, which seems to always get me killed because I will invariably pick the wrong direction and find a train, or or one of those. You can also go up here, and then there's a little thing. Oh, I missed it. Oh, I was hoping I could ride on that train. That ramp over there is actually what I was kind of looking for. And that ramp does offer quite a bit of time savings. Also, there is somewhere along here a place to kind of shortcut through. I don't like going through that red building. At least not from this path. I'm sure there's other paths where that's more beneficial. Oh. I just realized this is going to be quite the long race because I'm still on 5 laps. Whoop. So this game is kind of nice because it doesn't have any kind of like a drift boost nitro turbo setting or anything like that. If you want more challenging gameplay, you can get a little bit of a speed boost from the manual transmission. But no, it's a very, very basic game that's rooted in pretty complicated physics. Pretty deadly physics, actually. Unforgiving, intentionally so. And they really reward mastery of the tracks and the launches. I really love games like this, but there just aren't all that many of them. Doop. See if we can get vertical on one of these. Nope. And we'll come down here, and this time around, whoop. This time around we'll take the main tunnel instead of that crazy shortcut tunnel. And it just drops us off in about the same place. Woo! And we'll try to come up here, and did not quite hit that, but try and hit this guy. Come on, 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 up, 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 up. There we go. And there's that red building. So that went about as well as could be expected. It would be probably a lot nicer if I had a faster engine, but I've only got probably about 100, maybe a little bit more than that, miles in this game. I know I've got thousands in the Dreamcast version. I want to say 10,000 plus, but I really have to check because that sounds awful high. I know the arcade game keeps giving out mileage awards up to like 5,000 miles, I think, with of course 2049 being a pretty big milestone in the game. Whoop. Boom. There's one of those billboards on the quarter pipe there. That's Log Cabin Homes with LOGG. I forget exactly who did the arcade version of this game, but Ed Log is frequently credited with the console adaptations of this, specifically the Dreamcast one that everybody loves so much. Interestingly, just this last week, well, not that interestingly, but just this last week I picked up the Game Boy Color version, and I've been playing that in my analog pocket. And wow, is that game ever a waste of space? Do not like, and I like overhead isometric games, but it's just like they took all of the worthless parts from Rush and made something that didn't feel at all like Rush. They took like the cars and maybe the overall theme, but just not a big fan of the Game Boy Color version of this game. Whoa! Now the N64 version of this game is actually pretty nice. In fact, I would say it is better than this Midway Arcade Treasures 3 port of the Dreamcast version. I would say the original Dreamcast version has it beat, but the port of the Dreamcast version to Midway Arcade Treasures 3, no, I'd probably rather play the N64 one. Like, if you've got an N64, it's a spectacular N64 game. Just because there are better platforms to play it on doesn't mean that doesn't at all devalue what they did on N64. It's just amazing. Ooh. Oh, and there's that Log Homes, LOGG. From what I understand, the advertisements are also a little different between different versions of the games. Ooh. Oh, the N64 one offers the car customizer that was in Rush 2, Extreme Racing USA. Rush 2's an N64 exclusive. Also, if you have an N64, do not hesitate. Check out Rush 2 Extreme. That is as It's more Rush that a lot of people missed. Whoa. Can I hit it? Yay. Unfortunately, guys, I do not know what that opens. So I'm sorry. I actually don't know all the shortcuts in this game. I'm sure I will, though. At least for the arcade version, because that's about to become my my primary hobby, is about to become lapping Rush 2049 arcade version. It's on the Atari Denver, which is a, I believe 200 or 250 megahertz MIPS chip, and then it's got a, whoa! Then it's got a Voodoo 3 card in it. And when you look at the cost of Voodoo 3 cards, wow, suddenly the Rush 2049 cabinet starts looking like pretty good value for money. Honestly, like a Voodoo 3 card is, you know, $300-400 these days, and a Rush cabinet is somewhere between $500 and $1,500. I spent on the high end of that, and then I spent another $400 in shipping, because I wanted something that was just ready to go. I didn't want to have to special edition it myself or any of that. Wanted one in good shape from a reputable arcade vendor, and one that was willing to ship across country, because mine's actually, it's in Texas right now, coming to Louisiana, but it's actually coming all the way from Rhode Island, so it's most of the way here. Whoa! Just tapped on the brakes there to get me down on the ground a little faster. We'll slam into the wall and use that to steer, kind of Gran Turismoing around the corner, if you will. That's a little verb I made up for any time you need to take a corner and you got too much speed. Whoop! You can whoa! You can either use the wall to slow you down, or you can use another car to slow you down. And that is what I refer to as Gran Turismoing a corner. This game, of course, does not feature any car damage, which its predecessor, San Francisco Rush, definitely was known for. It had deformable car models. I wouldn't say that was a terrifically important part of its gameplay, but it was kind of nice to see. And of course, all of those are blue, since I think this is my first time racing this track. Let's pick a new track here. Let's pick Hate again, because you know what? I don't think that I did the shortcuts justice, so let's watch me fail on these. Now, I think those giant lava lamps are just a solid purple flat bitmap in these. I don't think they even have any lava goo in them. Take out the sign here. Screw you, sign. I wonder if we can take this on the first lap. Look at this. Yes, just enough. This is... Well, that wasn't the ideal path, but the ideal path is there's a little road behind these buildings to the left. I really like this track so much. Wait, there are tracks that are unlocked that aren't unlocked yet. I was just thinking about why I like this track so much, and there's another track that kind of does something similar, but it's not unlocked yet. Whoop. Because I'm not sure if this is my favorite track or track 6 in the arcade, whatever they call that in the Dreamcast version. There are some really crazy videos of people doing these tracks on, like people actually, not me, people actually know what they're doing these tracks on the YouTube, and I highly recommend checking some of those out. Oh, I probably should have tried my little ramp path again. You know what? I'm going to hit the button at the top of the hill and try for that one again. Now that whole section had to get added to this track so that the track could be played in reverse. Because I don't think it could really be played in reverse without that. And it's a shortcut that involves kind of a giant loop and stuff like that when you're going in reverse. It is nuts. Alright, so if I go off to the right and hit a button, and swing over to this section on the left that opens up. We bust through this thing, roll down, hit this ramp, land on this thing. Boom. Whoop. Nice. That button over there, that just does something that if you've got a second player following you, it kind of screws them on this shortcut, and it kind of crunches them up, so it's not really worth it for me to hit. I've seen somebody online has a capture of like a 6-player multiplayer racing with the arcade version of this, and it is just absolutely insane. Because the drones, they don't take any shortcuts or anything cool like that, so it's kind of neat to see how different people take different paths, the different risk rewards, when you're actually playing against human opponents in like a tournament setting. It's kind of neat to see that. So if I recall, there's actually more to this area than just what I did. Let's see if we can find anything else. Whoa. You know what? I think it's coming the other way. There's that wedge with a giant jump on it. I think that must be what I'm thinking of. Let's try this left path up here. Oh, no, not a smart way to go. I have seen people take it. I think it's with the arcade version now. Now, interestingly, with my low power engine here, I can take that whole corner series just completely flat out, where once I get better engines, these tires will not be able to hold on that at all. Gosh, Rush 2049 is just an absolutely perfect game. Really glad I went with this instead of, I was actually thinking of going with that arcade 1-up Ridge Racer. If you saw the video on that, I was super enthused about that, and I was telling it to the wife, and she's like, yeah, okay, but it'll never make you happy. She was right. We went on an arcade vacation, and I spent 2 hours in timed credit play on a Outrun 2 SP, and I decided again that I needed not just kind of a fake arcade cabinet, but a real one. And there's just so many modes and unlockables in Rush 2049. I don't believe other arcade systems are really set up to do that. The whole keypad thing that Rush 2049 does to save progress is just brilliant. And I've seen the settings in there for how long it actually keeps your pin number, and it's up to a year, and then it purges you out of the system. So I am going to have to remember to keep playing every year in order to keep my count current in there with all the unlockables and stuff like that. Oh, that looks like my Rush 2049 cabinet is going to have one of its lights out, so I'm going to have to fix that when it arrives. I already have the lamps. I will do a tour of it. I'm curious to see what gets inside. Sometimes in these arcade cabinets, frequently you'll have a lot of quarters in them, And every once in a while, you'll have something like a mummified dead rat, and definitely want to check that out outside before I bring the thing in. Okay, moving around here. Now, this thing tonight was going to be a live stream, but I am having some kind of trouble with my upload speeds with YouTube, and I'm actually getting better speeds over the VPN, but man, I don't like connecting with a VPN because, whoop, every once in a while my VPN will just disconnect or reconnect to a different place or something, and then that just kind of screws everything up. Sport transmission. We are going to have to go and pick a new car so we can fit some of our new stuff, this new transmission. And I might want to try the light alloy frame. So frame standard, frame light, light alloy. I really like the standard alloy. Yeah, we're going to keep with standard and keep with small tire rims, engine, sport auto. Ah, shoot, we picked Hate again. That's okay. It's a good track. It's my favorite unlocked track. Cannot wait to unlock track 6 though, because I did not see that in the menu, and that has some crazy shortcuts and jumps in it. Let's do this way. Click. So this ramp, I believe, is on a timer in the arcade version, and that's going to be a different concept because there are no buttons in the arcade to drive over. Whoop. At some point, I am going to have to take that road behind those buildings just for entertainment value. Another thing I like about the Dreamcast version is you can adjust the volume of your music versus your sound effects, and I think there's a way to do that on the arcade cabinet. Something to do with the music button in conjunction with other buttons. But I haven't managed to find that. It might actually be in the manual. I own the manual for this thing already. Yeah, I own the manual, the flyers, and I even bought a special edition marquee because for the last 5 years or so I've been pretty sure I was going to own one of these, and then life gets in the way. But yeah, this was going to be a live stream, and it's just currently just a sit and record. I am near last on this. I'm doing terribly. This is apparently a bummer. Guess I should try and take the shortcuts a little harder. There's a windmill in the future, like you see. Just kind of a Netherlands-style windmill sitting in San Francisco. I do like their take on the year 2049 in this, where there are still recognizable landmarks around. Oh. But everything is just kind of zazzed up for the future. That's kind of neat to see. It's kind of like how Deus Ex Mankind Divided did, I think it was Prague. Like all the buildings there are still, you know, medieval, 1,000-year-old things, but they've just got like nicer neon attached to them, basically. I thought that was a great way to do it. I absolutely love games like that, the Deus Ex games. I still haven't played Deus Ex The Fall, and I'm going to have to get into that. What I kind of liked about Mankind Divided is the most modern building in it, was the Burj Khalifa or whatever, is actually a real building. And that's the most modern building in the whole game, I think. Where usually in those Deus Ex games you got super futuristic imaginary buildings all over the place. Wow, why am I still in 5th? Everybody's just slaughtering me. That guy in 6th is way back there, though. Okay. You know, making my jumps, I'm not crashing. That is interesting. Let's see if I can make my shortcut here, and yep. I mean, this shortcut is fairly reliable for me. I think I see the other car. Oh, geez. Do not steer too much until you are on all 4 wheels in this game, or else you will just die. But yeah, this is San Francisco Rush. This is a game that I consider to be just about perfect. Not this version. There's reasons to love the Dreamcast version. I would say that on Midway Arcade Treasures 3, I would say that the better represented game is Rush the Rock Alcatraz Edition, just because it is the actual arcade ROM that you're playing, which it's awfully shameful that they've just done a console port. And you know, Rush the Rock Alcatraz Edition fans, people that have more wheel time on it than me, might be able to spot the flaws in that a lot better. I can spot the flaws in this pretty well because it's a port of the Dreamcast version, and I have way too much experience with the Dreamcast version. Whoa! Oh, I did that horribly. Final lap. I think I'm kind of catching those guys. My dot looks a little closer on the map. There is a windmill again, and there's another one. There's 2 windmills just in San Francisco. Just you know, it makes more sense than the Atari logo does. A little surprised the windmills aren't the Atari logo. So I'm noticing the ads around are generally Dickies, and I think there's a Slim Jim, and I think that they vary a little based on what version of the game you're playing. But I kind of miss the N64's kind of Rush 2 billboard system of just having all those obscure Atari games like Mace and Vapor TRX. Those make kind of awesome billboards, or Gauntlet Legends. Good games. I miss Atari games. It's been a long time since we've seen these games in a compilation here. I think this is about the last time. Ooh. From what I understand, Atari Games, after Midway failed, Midway got snatched up by Warner. And for some reason, Warner is just not licensing these things out like they probably could. And I think everybody would love to have an HD version of this game. Properly HD, that is. Anyway, this has been just kind of a little bit of a Rush 2049 session here. I do not want to burn myself out on this game because I should be getting it within the next week. So until next time, Reaper Man out.